We've spoken about set building, and we've spoken about the damage formula. On the recent Swaxe meta video, I received the following comment. First off, thank you. While I did say that numbers generally do bad, I couldn't stop myself from thinking about it, and have since come to the conclusion that after all the theoreticals, this would make a great example on how to put those things into practice by showing you the steps I take to get there. So without further ado, here's the results for 4-piece Gore, 3-piece AT Ray Latent Power 5, 2-piece Gore 3-piece AT Ray, and the 2-piece Guardian Arcload Comfort set. Let's delve into how we got here. The first thing I do when calculating with a tool like this is verifying that it produces reasonably accurate output. I've done it on stream before, and found that the calculated damage is off by about 0.7%. I need something sort to know that it's reasonably accurate. Let's see. Overhead slash 32.4. Overhead slash 32.4. Reasonably accurate is all I need. Good. That's gonna be 156.3. Oh yeah, you can't see half of what I'm doing. 156.3. 156, reasonably accurate. Cool. I will not use burst, because what we have is an average calculator, and burst will screw up numbers really easy. So that's one of the downsides I didn't talk about in the video today. It's really fucking hard to verify an average calculator, because you'll need a ginormous sample size, and you need to record every single attack, and it's not fast or easy to get there. So what I do instead is doing a snapshot calculation with the average calc to verify that at least theoretically it has the same numbers, and then I just calculate something reasonable, and if it's reasonably accurate, it's fine. Full release loop should be doing 2080 damage with Power Axe. $2,080 is what I'm expecting. Boop, boop. 2,095. It's a little bit more. In the grand scheme of things, how much is that? 2,095 divided by 2,080. It's 0.7%. Do I care about 0.7% accuracy? How accurate is it without Power Axe? That is a lot of weird words upgrade. Give me a second. Oh, hold on. Did one of those not crit? 2085. Off by 14 damage. Still off by 0.7%. Yeah, I can live with 0.7% inaccuracy. What's next, Stream Sasch? The next thing is going to be very fun. We're gonna look at Wax versus Agitator. Thank you, Stream Sasch. And now, the meta. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as just replacing Agitator with Wax. So the next step in comparing these two is finding sets of the same archetype or baseline. 4-piece Gore tells you outright what its baseline is. The 4-piece bonus from Gore's set. I used the wiki ass to find this set. Thankfully, it's a pretty straight transition from Agi to Wax. Here's the numbers. On Zoshia's head, the standard 4-piece Gore set with Agitator 5 is expected to deal an average of 1,657 damage. The Wax 5 Max Might 2 variant expects 1,612 damage, and Wax 4 Max Might 3 should do about 1,621 damage. Going off of these, a 51,000 health Zo would die in 31 full release loops to Agi and 32 full releases to the other two. Agitator 5 4-piece Gore will be used as baseline from here on. Latent Power 5, with the 3-piece bonus from Arc-Tempered Ray, is expected to deal 1663 damage on average, while the Wax variation expects 1667. Note that this calculator was built with an expectation of the user to not overcap affinity, so that is not accounted for. In reality, the average damage will be lower, but I'll pretend that that isn't the case for the sake of showcase. Under these circumstances, all 3 sets would slay that same Sasch here in 31 full release loops. The Wax variation of Latent 5 has an additional unused level 3 slot. Since we, meaning Swaxe, are chasing Flayer 1 as the next worthwhile level 3 skill, we'll use it here. With the same stipulations as before, adding Flayer 1 should increase average damage to 1723 per full release and kill in 30 FRS loops. The Agitator variant of 2-piece Gore, 2-piece AT Ray clocks in at an average of 1691 damage per loop, which the Wax variant beats with 1703. Same as the standard 4-piece Gore variant, both of these sets require 31 FRS loops to kill. The 4th set is the comfort set I recommend, 2-piece Gore, 2-piece Guardian Arc. The Agi 5 variant should average 1627 damage per FRS loop, while Wax clocks in at 1639. Both of the comfort sets slay in 32 FRS. As you can see, Wax almost always wins in this comparison. So why do I suggest Agitator instead? The assumed Wax uptime, which in this context means your accuracy, was 85%. That means, in turn, that 85% of all of your attacks, which primarily is the full release loop, hit a good hit zone. Agitator was assumed to be 65%. Agitator is active whenever a monster is enraged, and rage is a mechanic that is tied to damage received by the monster. If you hit the good zones for 85% of the time, you will be dealing a lot more damage than when blindly flailing around, which means that the monster should be enraged a whole lot more than 65% of the time, which makes Agitator beat Wax. One more, often overlooked thing to consider is Mind's Eye. Mind's Eye can change how you play certain matchups, like Gore or AT Ray. Wax sets lose that option, and then also lose against Mind's Eye, as Mind's Eye beats Agi by a fair margin if accounting for the extra topples and flinches generated by the Mind's Eye target hit zones. All of that, however, goes out the window when hunting Guardian monsters, as they get force unenraged when you Guardian topple them. In those cases, Wax relatively handily beats Agitator pretty much every time. But keep in mind that Guardian hunts don't tend to last that long, so the potential save from optimizing for them is also much lower. Editor Sasch here. Some more considerations that recording Sasch for Gore are how sets that go for and over 100% affinity also make weapon selection much smaller and limit possible Arshin rolls, since extra affinity rolls are much more punishing without that wiggle room. There's also this whole situation of the balance changes, and turns out that the Maximite Shadow buff was actually a bug that may or may not change a couple things. For Swaxe specifically, which I will probably go over sometime this week in a stream, and then that also turns into a video, so stay tuned for that. But now back to this. The key takeaway here is that it really doesn't matter, as long as some basic principles like coherence and not needlessly overcapping affinity are followed. While the damage differs between every set we've discussed here, it also doesn't differ enough to make sweeping statements such as Wax is better or comfort sets suck. This is what I alluded to with the support video. Whilst it's a game where you are rewarded for meeting the baseline of set building, and nothing else really matters on that end when it comes to improving your damage, building according to your needs and then getting better as a player are still the main sources of reaching higher DPS.